Tonnie was my friend. He lives in Uganda, Africa. I couldn't get to him. He needed my help, and I couldn't get there. In 2016, I went on my first mission trip to Uganda, Africa. And I met a young man. His name was Tonnie. Fast forward to 2018, went back to my second trip. And in that conversation with Tonnie that I had, after carrying him on my back for probably 2 or 3 miles. You see, Tonnie was a man of special needs. When he was a young man, a boy, he got polio and he couldn't open his arms and he couldn't open his legs. Without making this too long, it was in the conversation that I had to set Tonnie down and take a rest after carrying him for 2 miles. And I asked him, I said, Tonnie, there's some differences between you and I. Now, Tonnie and I, this is 2 years after we've met. We've been building a relationship online, by corresponding online, talking on the phone over 2 years. So we got to be pretty good friends. It was like a brother kind of situation. I was the older brother, he was the younger brother. I asked him, I said, Tonnie, how is it that you're so positive? I've never heard you complain. I said, you can't open your arms, you can't stand up, you can walk, but you have limitations, and yet you don't get frustrated. Why? Tonnie said, I'll tell you the truth, Chris. Can I tell you the truth? I said, yes, please, tell me. He said, I only look at the positive. I refuse to look at the negative. I'll tell you, it was in those moments that this young man became a giant. He grew 10 feet tall because of those words. But you see, they weren't just words. It was what he lived by. He lived by this mindset that he was not going to allow anything to stop him. You see, after the next couple of years, I watched Tonnie get married, have a baby, open a couple of businesses. You see, this man, even though he couldn't open his arms and he couldn't stand up, he was not going to let his disability disable him. In my mind and in my heart, and what I saw was a giant in this young man. Well, in 2023, Tonnie fell out of a bed and died. He left behind a wife and a daughter. And so I told Tonnie when I met him, that day in the school principal's office, which was a barn. It was a barn. It was not like a school that you think. It's very rural. It's very. It was in farm country, in where farmers are. It's a very low income area. But when I met Tonnie, he said he wanted to meet Jesus, and I said, if I introduce you to Jesus, that's going to mean you and I are going to be like brothers forever. So we did it. We prayed. We became brothers. We became brothers that lived about 9,000 miles apart. But because of technology, we became very close. The day I got the call that Tonnie died, they couldn't get him from, his wife couldn't get him from the clinic to the hospital in time. And he had a concussion, I guess, and passed away. I tell you all this today because Tonnie, though he had disability, he wasn't going to let his body disable him. He went on to live a life. He died at 33 years of age. So for me, from my heart, why I do what I do each and every day. Yes, I have a family. Yes, I have my own. I have children. However, at this age, I have grown children. They're grown-ups. They're making their own way. They're living their own life. However, I now have a new focus. I have a daughter. She's a goddaughter, but she's in Uganda. I have a god-granddaughter. And because of those two, there's a whole community that I am working with to be a part of, helping to build community. My point in telling you the story is because I want to get Tonnie's story out there. It's been very challenging to me. It's been so challenging to me that I am willing to get on and expose who I am, to get on TikTok, to get on social media, to do whatever is necessary, because it's what I'm living. It's what I'm doing each and every day. And I know if Tonnie can do it, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Here's my point. There is a God-given gift down inside each and every one of us. And it's not made for you. You weren't made for you. You were made for those people around you. You were created to serve communities, your country, your family, your spouse, your children. Whatever it is that you were created, maybe you're not married. That's okay. You're created to serve your mom and dad. So I want to empower you. If this story, if you've hung with me this long and this story's meant something to you, put in the comments, a man called Tonnie. Because my friend, a man called Tonnie, was such an inspiration to me. I want to do whatever I can to ensure the fact that his daughter gets an education, that his wife flourishes where she's at. She gets to build a home, that in her own community there in Uganda, that I can do my part as Jaja Chris to help. And I hope this inspires you, that we have to position our minds to only look at the positive and refuse to look at the negative. Hopefully that helps. Have a great day.